Hi everybody, the One Meta here, and thanks again for joining me on my journey as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. Once again, for those who don't know, I've been reading fanfiction for over 13 years now, I think. 14 years. And so my fanfiction.net account, which is where I mainly read it for a very, very long time, had ballooned in size for my favorites list with over 1,200 stories, and I decided now I'm gonna curate it. Started this last year, and I've gone through about a fifth of it. So let's dive in. I've got 7 stories for you today, and as always, I say this at the end of the video usually, but I'll just say it again now. It's like links for all these stories are in the description, so if you want to check it out for yourself, please feel free. I also have a link for the playlist for this whole thing, as well as a link to a forum thread where I post all this in a readable format instead, if you want to do it that way. But yeah, let's go. First story we have is No Reading by Meinos Kaen, and this is a Naruto Sori where during that first fight where he turns 4 tails against Orochimaru, he some shit happens, and then he ends up in the Marvel universe, and basically becomes a X-Men right before the Civil War arc starts. It's fun enough as a Marvel story, characters are there. Naruto, of course, gets his charm on and gets a whole bunch of girls falling in love with him, and the Deadpool scenes are great. I like his camaraderie with Naruto, and just Deadpool as a character I love a lot, so him being there is super fun. The Civil War arc bits, the actual storyline, that's basically half this story, and this takes place right after the House of M, so it drops a lot of lore bits of the House of M, which is helpful for people that haven't read the comics, and it also creates a very interesting atmosphere with that. I haven't read the actual comics, I just know bits of the storyline, and so it set up a very interesting tone and atmosphere of where the Marvel universe was at that point, and I thought it did that well. And I thought the writing was pretty good, but it didn't have that magic something that most of these more serious fanfics that I keep on my list have, that made me basically forget what time it is and just focus on only reading this. So I think it's a good story. It just didn't feel super special enough to make me just forget about everything else and just read this from beginning to end. And sadly, because of that, I'm going to take it off my list. But I do recommend this if you do like Marvel at all, and the Civil War storyline in particular, and you don't even need to have a lot of knowledge of Naruto, since it's basically just him being pasted into there. So if you like the Marvel universe a lot, you might enjoy this. Alright. The next story is A Tale of One Kitty by Cloneserpents. And this is a bit of an interesting situation. So when I was recounting the thing, I remember when I started this list, I had 1,260 stories, and getting to where I am now, it seems like some stories started disappearing off my list without me taking them off. It seems like the writers started taking them off, or fanfiction.net did one of their purges or whatever. This one, in between the time that I decided, I basically backed it up on my Google Drive and got around to reading it, the writer privated the story, or took it off. It's not, you can't see it through their account page anymore, and you can't see it through the link. I was just very lucky, thankfully Wayback Machine still works, so I can still read it. But it's interesting. This is the first one where it's not really there anymore. And okay, so that's the background. What was the actual story? It's a porno. This is written like a porn movie with all the porn scenes cut out. At the bottom of it said like there was a more explicit version. I'm assuming with the more graphic sex scenes on Fickwad. That's also not there anymore. Maybe if you have the Wayback Machine and you have the link for that, you can find it. I don't have the link for the Fickwad version. But yeah, it's basically it's a porno without the sex scenes. So if you like a little bit, it's just not. It's basically Hermione turning into a cat girl and then getting into a three-way relationship with Harry and Susan Bones. The writing's not exactly great. It's a porno. Like, it's porno writing. Logic's dumb. It's just not interesting. You can't, like, I have the link still there, so if you want to check it out via Wayback Machine, you can, but it's really not that interesting, and you could just give it a pass. And it's falling off my list. Next is Harry Potter and the Sun Source by Clelel 65619. And this is a story about Harry being raised by Korean assassins after Dumbledore drops him off on the doorstep, and then he comes back at Hogwarts during what should have been his 6th year to kill Voldemort. And so it's like a really fun. This is a fun ride. Like, simple, smooth. Like, no hiccups or problems that super occur. There's a lot of like jokes and sex jokes and sexual bits that happen, and a lot of more jokes in general about just Harry's confident attitude and things like that. And I really enjoyed it. There's a stick in the mud with one character who is like the character itself is Harry's father, who's like super old Korean assassin, and there's he sprinkles his dialogue with lots of racism and sexism. And yeah, I found bits of it to be uncomfortable, considering how racist and sexist, like when he talks about, oh, that river, why does it smell so bad? Oh, that's where the Chinese women go to have their biannual bath. It's like, holy shit, okay, like, yeah, it's a little, yeah, but it's small segments. Yes, it's, like, they're big moments, but it's few and far between. Past that, though, I really enjoyed everything else that was in this story, and I would definitely reread this. If what I said is enough to turn you off it, that's fair. But I still recommend this if you want a good laugh, and I enjoyed this story and it's staying on my list. Next after this is Oh God, Not Again by Sarah 1281, and this is another Harry stumbles through the veil years after the events of the books and ends up back in time. Vic. So this is a comedy, and it's not crack, it's just comedy, and it's pretty slow in the beginning. Like, I was at pretty much for the length of the whole part of that first year goes on, I was thinking this was going to fall off my list, because it was a lot. The first part is very similar to the whole smooth, like, laid back nature of some of the stories that I've had before that I've kicked off. But the humor and randomness and the fun bits start picking up really fast after that, and seeing all the stuff that Harry deals with and that mercenary persona he develops and how everybody else just starts getting molded to just deal with it is super fun. I enjoy this a lot. Really entertaining. Stays on my list. Now it's another Naruto story with Transient Guest Are We by One Sniper Wolf. And this is Naruto gets summoned by somebody and ends up in the World of Warcraft universe and gets killed and raised as a Death Knight by Arthas, but then escapes and then creates a faction to basically unite the Alliance and Horde to kill the Lich King. This is interesting because it feels like an actual book. What I mean is, I don't mean that it's written competently or it's like, super well polished or anything. It's more it's more that it's the way it's written and the things that it decides to focus on feels more like a fantasy book than most fan fiction, because like one, story's complete, tells a whole story, so that's the point in the book favor, but many others do that. Why is this? Because this one tells a story that's pretty long in time scope and filled with a bunch of characters that don't feel completely two-dimensional, but because they each have small amounts of character moments that give enough to flesh them out, but not huge swaths of characterization. You know, that's the thing where it's like, this book gives you the character moments you need, but not as much as you would want, and not as much as most writers feel is necessary. I actually feel that there's a couple of them where I've been like, oh, there's no big moment to draw me in, and I feel bored going through, and I feel like that's me just going into the realm, diving too deep into it, because like if you look at actual books, like if you look at the Harry Potter books, there's no huge soliloquies on every single character or things like that. I mean, there's moments and there's that, but not everyone gets like 75 pages of backstory for each one. Yeah, and that's what this fic is like. It feels like it has the pacing and flow of an actual book, where it's like, okay, this character shows up, hey, they interact for a bit, oh, they're gonna stay around, well then let's have them interact with and give them some deep moment here, and then oh, that's what that person's deal is and how they move forward. But yeah, there's minor bits in the middle where like certain characters just seem to show up out of nowhere and have like relationships that seem to appear out of nowhere, but then they get fleshed out later. Maybe I might just skipped a scene or two accidentally, I'm not sure. But overall, I just really enjoyed this, and I think like if you like Warcraft lore at all, you will enjoy this a lot, because this is another one where it's more about the setting Naruto ends up in rather than Naruto's lore itself. So if you like Warcraft stuff, you will like this story, and yes, it stays on my list. More Naruto with The Adventures of Naruto by Dan Fiction. And this is a story where there was no Kyuubi attack when Naruto was born, so he grew up as the neglected son of the Hokage who yearns to explore and just travel the elemental nations. And it's basically, this is a good start of a travel log story, you know, going to a whole bunch of locations that just stops in the middle of its second destination. It's very similar to one of his other stories, was Naruto Files Harry Potter, where it's, you know, a lot of build up and setting up moving parts, but no payoff and doesn't go anywhere. It just ends up feeling hollow and feels wasted, you know, that things didn't come up. It's fine to read in the text wise, like writing wise, it's okay. You just feel like, you know, it's disappointing. That's what it's disappointing that all this stuff doesn't get to go anywhere or actually give you anything back that's substantively. So yeah, it's fine enough to read, but it's not going to stay on my list. Alright, last one for the video. Operation Chaos Done Right by Starbear. And this is another Harry Potter time travel fic. Basically, this is the entire first year, Harry Potter's first year class, go back in time from their 7th year after the war to their first year, and then they're like, okay, we can fix everything, like we can do that easily, so let's just have fun and do random shit while we're doing it. So yeah, it doesn't actually get to any serious points. There's only a few bits here, and what that leads to is that it's just a bunch of silly like moments where random stuff starts happening. It's like super simple, childish, and random humor, and if that gets a giggle out of you like it did me, you will not be disappointed. You'll get laughs. I enjoyed this a lot, and it's going to stay on my list. So there we have it. This is part, 40, I guess, of the videos, and thank you for watching. Those are my lists again. They're in the links are in the description down below. You can watch if you want to watch this from the beginning, there's the playlist. If you want to read it instead, there's a forum thread you can go to. If you like the video, please leave a like, comment if you like anything, or even if you say, oh, my taste is shit, comment. I will agree with you. I have horrible taste. If you want to know when the next video comes out, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, or whatever. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.